magic artist Mark Poole, and we have Drew Tucker, and these guys were part of the 25 original magic artists for the Magic the Gathering. And really today's purpose is just to really kind of have a coffee and conversation with you guys. You know, if you have any questions, kind of one-on-one time with the artists. Any questions, really. They have a lot of great stories to tell. You know, so feel free to ask anything candidly. Well, hopefully anything. And also, if there's obviously in the very end and such, if you have any questions about what we do as a company for Vintage Magic, you can always ask me questions too. I'm perfectly willing to answer any questions you have. So, all right, with that, I'll start with Mark. Mark, why don't you introduce yourself and take it away?
Well, I know most faces. I don't know you as well, things. So, hey, good morning. But yeah, y'all probably know. I mean, from the Magic player side, I'm Mark Poole. I was a Southern artist at the time when they hired the Seattle crew, and I was a dude from down south, so it was kind of fun. But that's where I hailed for it. I met the crew '92 at Gen Con when they were shopping their show, or shopping what they wanted to do with their card game. So that's where I met them, is at Milwaukee in '92. Yeah. That was my beginnings. How about you?
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm the other hand friend. I'm Drew Tucker. I was one of the Seattle Monkeys.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was going to. I was in school at Cornish College of the Arts. This doesn't matter. I'm sorry, on Capitol Hill. But I, you know, it's like a watercolor painting class, and Sandra Abraham.
Okay.
My
Really?
class, yeah. So, she'd come to me at some point and she's like, "Oh, I learned stuff. You know, would you put together a portfolio?" And so I knocked together a portfolio. And she brought it in the desk. That's how I started working with them.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then that portfolio got stolen. I gotta ask him. But
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I got work from that portfolio because it never came back to me, but I worked for the company.
But it served its purpose.
Yeah, it totally served its purpose. But yeah, I looked, you know, kind of a lot of things happen because you're in the right place. You accidentally talk to the right people.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
But, right place at right time is really what 98% of all business transactions, especially with this.
Yeah.
And not just being at the right place at the right time, being either stupid enough to say yes or no. That's the yeses are usually. The yeses are big. The no's are big because
there's risk involved with magic.
Exactly, because these guys show up. Look, we're not paying you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But hey, we've got this cool thing. We're gonna put art on cards, and it's gonna be a game. And at my time, you know, out of college, you're like, wow, art on cards sounds great. And up to that time, it was just TSR, Dragon Magazine, which I've done some stuff for. And that was it, because board games were dead. Role-playing games had just petered off, and that was about it. So when they came by, I was like, yes, it sounds cool. I had a couple of friends who are still working today. I won't mention names, but they said, no, man, that's just giving your stuff away, you know. And then, you know, many years later, they, you know, regretted that no. That was the no for them, you know.
No, like one of the things I found, like, I guess starting is you do a lot of stuff like it, you know, as a student in the beginning, you know, illustrator, not really beginning artist, where you're taking it almost like a Matlock situation, where you're like you're a horrible pro bono sort of thing, you know, and like Magic was that way because they like it was $100 a card, you know, in the '90s, $100 a little bit.
$100 a card. That's why I took so many.
Yeah,
I was like, you know, just got married, maybe baby on the way, and I was like, $100 a card. Well, I better take as many as I can do. So I took like 27 cards.
Yeah,
just for that reason, you know. And then it's, you know,
yeah,
that's what I said. And I was like, yeah, I try to get more, but you know. But I still have the list of cards when Jesper called. I got my list all written down, the name of the card, and I saw all kind of names I just didn't pick, you know. And I settled on the ones I thought I could do quickly or something.
List.
Remember the list?
Yeah, I do.
Because you get a call. They'd call you up to start reading names. Like, I'll take that one. You know.
Sounds
That
interesting.
sounds interesting. That sounds simple.
Yeah.
You take a bunch of simple sounding ones, you know. But then again, there was a stock option.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my wife, I was like, stock and a three-man startup, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of laughed at it, it'd be good, funny.
Yeah.
So we got the stocks,
Yeah.
you know, and of course the royalties.
Oh yeah, yeah. The royalties were nice too. I mean, like it was little bits that like it was a nice gamble.
Yeah, because you kind of go, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And any time doing any kind of work in the industry today, you know, there's still people out there doing gamble offers. You know, they're startup or Kickstarter or various other things, but some companies will still offer a percentage of, you know, an investment in their product. And I still look at that and go, you know, let's take a shot at one here and there. And a lot of them just, you know, faded by the wayside. But I still take those shots if it looks fun or something like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you never know.
No, I'll do a lot of stuff just because it sounds. Well, I don't know, like I myself will do, you know, for the experience itself, like,
Right.
or for you know the experience, for the conversation,
Yeah.
for you know moments like that, for like weird connections,
Right.
which. Yeah, I don't. It's a weird way to run sometimes.
No, but it's the only way. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a fun gig and you know it looks like something that could fit in what you're wanting to do or have something, I'll jump on it all the time if I have time.
Yeah,
You know? Which is dangerous because then all of a sudden you're saying yes to everything again and you're getting backlogged.
And then it's real. I mean, it's really absolutely like real deadlines. It's not like
Yeah.
flaky deadlines. I mean, there are like there's a number of art directors where, you know, it might be like you got a month, and then like that month
Right.
you can like if you played your cards right, and if you behaved right. I mean, like in the beginning, I would like sometimes I'd do like two things. I'd try to make sure I was like 2 weeks under.
Right.
You know, so it's always there on time, and so it kind of builds a reputation out of that about you know your work ethic.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
So I had some. So this is great. So I had a gentleman message me about being an artist, and he asked the question. I'll pose it both. I'll start with Drew. The question was, you guys have obviously started out at very early in your career and progressed in your illustrative and careers and such. What are some of the challenges, the things not to do, and the things to do? Obviously, you mentioned taking risks. That's but tell me specifically, what did you do wrong, and what did you learn from? You know.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I'd pose that to you guys.
Don't read.
Drew, you're first. So you know.
We didn't have any of that.
Oh no! The moment it came out,
No, we don't want the person to know.
It's so sad. Yeah.
Not specifically like the stuff you bought or yeah, we're talking about more career
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
That's a I mean that's a tricky one because like in the beginning you don't know what to do and what not to do anyhow. I mean because yeah like most people would go like yeah it's a startup, they're not paying you much, you shouldn't do this, but you know it is sometimes that like if you think it's interesting or if you're believing in it, you know you gotta join the world at some place. I mean, obviously don't miss your deadlines, right?
Yeah.
Try to always like, you want to drive quality. I'd say like, I guess focus on, I mean like, and I teach at this point as well as illustrate, but like with my students, the ones that are very serious in it, I do have them look at like, other people's pieces, but I try to get them to not, hook into it. Because in the very beginning, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're making, you don't know your own voice all the time. And some of it you have to trust yourself and forget what you see, because what we do is we see like folks that are like, oh my God, this, this cat is great. And you're looking at it, and then you start like kind of aping that style, and it doesn't become yours, and then you have this just reproductions of other people. And though you should always look at other people's artwork, don't get transfixed into it. It's best if you're like forget you, because we're all gonna look at stuff, right? and you're kind of foolish not to. Ooh, I just thought of something else. But look for moments of clarity in the picture. Don't like if you go outside and you guys are all right. When you're out, when we walk through the world, we stop and we frame it out, right? But if you like stop to make a drawing, like if you were gonna I'm gonna make a landscape, right? What happens often when we come to it is we see everything the moment we stop and we forget what that wildflower right there was the focal point. And it's such a grand thing. And I don't know if I'm gonna make it back to like the beginning. But so like when we're looking at artwork, and that was it. Yes, the whole thing is impressive if you're looking at it, but look for the moments, that really spoke to you. Like, if it's a brush stroke, if it's like how the color is pushed in space, or if there's a specific mention in the painting with texture, if it's smooth and how that's like running. Look at the moments and why they work, not the whole thing. Yeah, of course you're gonna look at the whole thing, but try to focus in on why it does something. And it kind of keeps you from aping a little bit. And it's hard not to, because every one of us like wears our influences like coats. And it's tricky. So like I would like, don't look at other people's stuff, even though you have to. Because like an illustration, the other like really rough thing, if you want to like, and I'm probably the example of this, right? If you want to work all the time, you want to give the people exactly what they want, what they're used to. But if you want to invent the world or make something new and try to like, you don't look. Try to do your own thing, or go like, I love this guy, but I never want to be it. But then you're not going to work a lot either, right? Because it doesn't necessarily always work into the field. I mean, and that's probably like the worst thing I could have ever done, and the best thing I could have ever done.
So it sounds to me, Drew, to clarify, this is great advice too. Sounds to me like you made a lot of you kept your identity throughout the career. That's important to you.
It's always important to me to like paint. I paint for the art director, right? Or the company, but it's equally important for me to paint for myself, because I don't look at it necessarily as purely commercial. Because somewhere in there, I want to paint. Because I can't like, if I was home, actually I'd be asleep. Right. But at night, I'm going to be painting absolutely no matter what. But if I'm working, I really want to like be proud and pleased and fulfill something like weird in there. Because you got that work aspect anyhow, that's really nice to have.
Yep.
But and I think this is probably like just really specific. That's a specific thing I can say, because I took the hard route to it. And then it's what choices do you want to make in your life? What's important? Is it like family? Is it money? Is it work? What are you going to sacrifice? Because you can kind of have three things, and something will lose in between.
Well, Drew, you bring up some good topics. There's a couple other questions related to that. But Mark, what are you?
I was almost like the opposite. Yeah, because back then when we saw the early Magic, I mean, his stuff stood out because his voice was unique. Me, it was just like, man, I need the cash, Seriously, just to be flat out honest, not just hide the fact. It's an embarrassment in a way. Because earlier on, I was actually doing stuff for Birds Unlimited, Ducks Unlimited, and some high, sportsmen. I was doing trout fishing, paintings and stuff. So really nice wildlife stuff. And that was I thought that's what I was going to be, a wildlife artist guy. But I was always a gamer. I was just a gamer. And was pretty ignorant of shows and stuff living in the South. I ended up, a friend of mine said, hey, you know, if there's Gen Con, you go up there and show art and, you know, look at games. I was like, okay. So I went up there and that was the year before I just started assigning for Magic.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I took the assignment, and I guess I took their instructions to heart, which was different, the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
They were, at the beginning, they said, all right, you know, I guess was, okay, since this is going on a 1-inch card, keep it really clean and simple
Yeah.
and bright, you know, so almost a graphic vibe or iconographic type style image. So my normal, because my older style art, I was painting every feather, every mind-numbing detail of these landscape, wildlife, birds of prey type pieces. So when I took the Magic assignment in a smaller format, I just removed all the details and just kept form, just simple form. At the same time, to do it fast, to get the work done. So, in hindsight, I still regret that to a part. Because when I looked at it, I knew it wasn't the style that I like to work in, and there was a lot of shortcuts taken. So I've always kind of regretted that, not just banging it out like I should have, like I normally do. But then, fast forward 20 plus years, you look at something like, say, Birds of Paradise or a simple card, it's transcended the bad art that it is into something kind of iconographic that people just remember the fondness of the card, not the slackness of the illustration, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So
It's a bit of nostalgia.
yeah, it is.
Nostalgia
So,
makes things
and I know
look
there's,
better. Yeah.
there's not, but if you're out starting stuff, come out of the gate swinging.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't care if you just take one card, do it like you want to do it. Not just go, man, if I do 50 cards, I'll have, you know, 10
Well, that's also the thing. I mean, like, because when you get hired, you're getting hired because of like how you solve a problem, or how you think. You know, yes, it's how your artwork looks like, but it's very much how you approach a situation and do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, if you come out like, you know, like, yeah, if you come out that way, you know, your voice is already kind of there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, that was my big regret. You know, I don't know. I mean, in this day and age, again, that was before the internet. So, you know, you were just kind of like your own world.
Yeah,
it was, and phone calls, and that was about it. Now you can get on there, you know. So you'd wait for that phone call. Okay, I tell my wife, I got to be here from between these hours because I'm gonna get the phone call. You know. So yeah, the early regret was just the approach and the attitude, I guess. But I still wanted to make a card that designed and fit the function of the card, you know, in that odd sense. And, but yeah, it was
my regret's exactly the opposite.
really.
Or yeah, like I
I
wish I like solidified a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Well, like you thank God 20 years allows you to learn how to draw
Yes.
a name.
Yes, it does. You know? And focus.
Yeah, and fun.
Find out what matters. Because over the years, I've gone back to that path forsaken and said, you know, that's more important, is to do your own vision. And then because of that, I'm not even worried about getting jobs, but I get jobs because of following that path that I should be on. You know, my own way of doing things
Yeah.
and stuff. You know? So it's been an interesting embarrassment, but at the same time, it's also kind of cool to see how that early stuff transitioned over time.
Okay, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with some of what
Good. Please do it. No, this is great, man. Good.
because one of the things looking at some of your early artwork that really stuck with me is that in the foreground you do have that very graphic, iconic representation, and it is simplistic in its form, but you look at the backgrounds and there is clearly evidence of your love of nature and your love of the environment, and there's a lot of practice that went into your ability to simplify those backgrounds, and it is beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. I mean, that's a weird topic sometimes. I guess you can sell yourself short, but sometimes that's what comes out when you look at things in comparison to say modern
Sure.
stuff, you know. So Thanks for disagreeing, but
So there's an innocence with your art. Obviously, there's a history. I actually made the mistake and forgot to bring some of Mark Poole's art, which that was a mistake. But I do have a couple of Drew's art. So what I'm gonna do is I'll hand this around a little bit. But so for those of you who haven't seen Drew's, so back to what Drew was talking about. Drew, you can talk about some of your pieces here. This piece was People in the Woods. And
that title. People in the Woods.
Yeah.
People in the Woods. So
All right, yeah, and that's what they give us, right? Like you got like. And then,
actually, so it says below. It says Forest People. Actually.
Yeah.
So
Forest
Drew,
people in the woods.
Yeah.
obviously, what I'm going to do is I have a couple of a little bit tighter. Drew was obviously what he This is Sister of the Flame. So if you compare the Drew's style, this is for the dark. These are both for the dark. And Jesper's is on the right, is on this side left. If you look at it carefully, it's like Drew really, like you were saying, you went for kind of what you felt. So talk about that because it's interesting because it's
That's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah, I mean, also Mark. So this is a very similar style that Mark had. Mark had a very tight. He did counter spells, very tight. You know.
Okay, and the reason I did this, and this just cracks me up because I forgot all about it, was called compost seeds. That what they gave me, right?
Yeah.
Was compost seeds.
Compost head.
I'm a horrible speller. That's a P.
Yeah, like
right?
That's great, though.
Yeah, and so I was walking on the beach in Seattle, and there's the flotsam comes in, right? Jessica goes up, flotsam, a pile of kelp and stuff, and I was like, I was trying to figure out a little bit of this compost. How are you gonna get on that?
Yeah, right. That's
So that's what I did, right? So I get these weird things. But the difference, like what Daniel's saying here, I would I went for more of an emotional time. A lot of the things that I would work were about, kind of like, and y'all get it. I mean, like there's like on the left side, there's like a shadow sometimes that comes in and out, and so I was more concerned with trying to make it very personal about a possibility of what this is and letting the viewer fill in information, right? And so it's kind of why I approached it in a much, like I don't know if I want to call it painterly, but I guess it's more painterly. It's not painterly, like washi, let's say. But it's why I approached it this way, is because I wanted a feeling for like a viewer to be able to connect to more, and that's the rough part too, right? Because like we don't really like connecting to feelings. I know that's so much, but because when we have like a really solid image, you're set, right?
Yeah.
You know what it is, but I always wanted that mystery to be able to like kind of. Right. There's all my early stuff is kind of dark. It's kind of broody, and I wanted that movement to it, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a conscious choice. I mean, the other half is the fantasy art that we had was we got Priscilla. We were talking about that. Now we got like
Jim Burns,
and let's not forget like the Monster Manual, right?
Yeah,
I needed
the
that
Monster Manual was like embedded in there.
Priscilla's like like you were saying, it's big, it's beautiful. And we gotta like throw, even though Wrightson's not in there, but Wrightson, his stuff, his Frankenstein, if you guys ever get a chance, is a beautiful book. Probably like the best on there. But like, so there's this set, and like, and I don't mean to say anything bad, but like, I'm gonna say it about like the Monster Manual. That was like high school or junior high art at best, and I hated it. And I didn't want to make that, and I knew I was starting to like go into fantasy art. Like, what do you make?
Right.
And so that's where I was like, I'm gonna make myself happy. They already called me because like this is what I do.
Right.
And so I just thought I'd look that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for good or bad.
Yeah, the fun part was the names you get. Now that was
Yeah.
that was a challenging part.
Yeah.
I mean, we get an island as an island, but I got like I got natural selection. I was like, what?
Oh, that would've been fun.
How do you quickly represent natural selection? And in a little quick pass. So, and I just came up with this bird tiger dude holding his orb and his staff. That was it.
Yeah.
That's what came to my mind. That's what went down.
It was so much. I mean, because we were absolutely inventing what we had.
Right, right.
Because you got a list of names on the phone.
Yes.
And that was it. You know, it wasn't
Yeah.
until later that it started getting really defined.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, you know, this is.
This is going to be blue magic. This needs to be tied in with the blue.
Yeah. They
You
might
know.
luckily tell you it was going to be a blue. Or
But you had no concept what that meant.
No,
And I was like,
no. And you know, just weird rough phrases.
yeah. It was just, or all that stuff. But it's, like compost or something like.
Yeah.
Now, so, getting back to Savannah Lions or something.
Yeah,
Okay, we know what
There
that
it
is.
is.
Ancestry Recall was that weird one for me. I was like, why did I pick that? You know, why? So I mean, that was a stretch. I couldn't think of anything. So, I just tried to tie in some guy, maybe had some DNA back to the Mayans or something. That's kind of what I was thinking. Who knows when people saw it, what they were going, what the heck.
All right, so this leads to the question. You guys kind of touched base about it earlier, about the early beginning. So I didn't bring these couple of artifacts, but I should have brought them. But there's two sides of it. One is the tale of Mark. And if you guys are writing anything or want to see this, Mark has this really great. He showed it me at Gen Con. His booklet, his sketchbook, where he actually wrote down when Jesper was writing each item, and he would just cross them out. And I think it was incredible the thought process as a young 21.
Because all the names were there was ones I passed over.
Crossed them out. Yeah.
I still got like all the old contact numbers from Watsy.
Yeah.
And all my other doodles like take laundry out. I mean, there's all these other doodles on this page, but it's in my sketchbook. And then when it was done, I sat there and just did my quick, 1 minute thumbnails for all the cards, right there. And a lot of them stayed true to it. A lot of them, some of them just varied. And there were actually some when I went back and looked at it. There were some images that were much fresher, just a better design. And I don't even know how I got off of that design. So like Burberry or something.
Yeah.
The original, you saw the sketch, it was pretty cool. But then it ended up as kind of like sad Pokemon looking thing, But yeah, I still have that all that original initial assignment stuff, which is kind of cool, because it brings you back real quick.
And then from the art director side for Jesper, I think we need, if you guys ever get an opportunity to go to Seattle, or he's from Seattle, but Jesper and I, we work together, and he has these artifacts where he would kind of handwrite and sign all of the art and what it is, write it out and say, hey, this is Chris Rush, and whatnot. And he would just that thought process in the early stages of their career. And one of the thing was they had a fax from the hotel they're in, and they're just, it's that mentality of, hey, we're just creating something new, something different. That was interesting. So I do want to open up to questions. What time is it?
Probably 10:45.
10:43. Okay, so we have a little time. So we'll do this. We'll talk. We'll ask one more question. We'll do one more kind of question, and then we'll open up to questions that you guys have. And I think the other question that was posed is I think people want to know obviously what you're doing today. That's a question people are going to ask. But I think a lot of people are going to ask you. Magic's changed quite a bit, right? Obviously, it's changed quite a bit from what you guys have done. Do you guys like that? Do you guys like the way it's going?
I still do stuff for them.
Yeah.
So
Do
I
you guys
am working on some stuff now.
Let's just talk about where you feel like Magic's going, and do you feel like there's something lost from it, or do you feel like it's better?
It's just both.
You can't necessarily go this is good and this is bad.
Right. It's
Everything changes.
Everything always changes. It needs to change. It's like, what if we still had watched movies from the '70s and kept that same filming going on? I mean, you can appreciate it. It did some great movies, but I love some of the CGI stuff that's available now and stuff. So I like both. It's neat for me to see both and how things are going or where things are going, and as you know, it's bigger now as it's ever been. So
Yeah,
it's kind of neat to see what's happening.
Because there's no way it could ever say, you know,
But the quirkiness of the back
Yeah.
is still pretty cool. I mean, you got some wacky differences.
yeah.
In styles and in visions and approaches, which made for cool.
Yeah.
But then again, he always had that love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I hate that one. Oh, that one's, you know, there was always that. There was never a lot of middle ground people. It was like,
No.
I hate that guy, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Modern stuff now, it's all about really high, polished volume, and it all looks good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, so.
Yeah, the thing I noticed about like you know the newer artists and everything is, and I mean it's really cool. Sometimes it makes me sad, but ultimately I think it's cool. But like being like, and this is probably more speaking to things created on the monitor, right? It makes me sad when paintings aren't in the flesh. Because it's like this mysterious one, and like so there's not very much,
Right.
The traditional versus
you know, but what I really noticed, and I think it's like specifically because of the monitor that you're building on, is it's all TV composition, and I think, and there's some really cool TV composition like that. I mean, like you know, there's like you know, I can't remember which of the Harry Potter ones I really liked, but you know, there's some amazing you know depth of field tricks going on.
Yeah.
You know, so like I think for myself, the thing that I really miss is like, and you know, I like bumped into it earlier when I was rambling, but it's like texture, you know, because it's just all ultimately it's flat. I mean, it's a really nice, you know, illusional dimension, and any painting is an illusion. I mean, it's all a lie, but you know, I sometimes wonder if you know that sacrifice of physicality to the monitor, you know what we lose, what we gain from moving. I mean,
Yeah. But you know what might
I just
happen?
love this stuff. Yeah.
Here's some huge
Oh,
prediction.
yeah.
Huge prediction. Now with 3D printing technologies, I believe at some point you'll be able to have a 3D based painting surface.
Yeah.
So as you paint, you can emulate brush, and the brush strokes will print with depth.
Or the you know the hologram.
Oh, wow.
Like the hologram Minecraft thing you guys like saw
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
like.
There was a guy who came up with a thing where you wear like sort of 3D goggles and you can
Right.
paint in 3D.
Yeah.
A 3D space. And you can
That's
actually.
cool.
So it's a digital painting, but
Yeah.
you just sort of, I guess, you have like your pen or brush in your hand,
Yeah.
digital paint, and you can actually physically walk around your painting and paint it in
That's
3D.
kinda
dimension.
wild.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really wild.
But yeah, I think there's gonna be some neat things and stuff. But I like the smell. Until
Yeah.
I can get, if I give me a monitor that could spit out some linseed smells
Yeah.
or something. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
I'm
gosh.
good,
Yeah.
you know, so-
Yeah. That's the absolute.
You know, it's just like,
So what you're saying is the tradition. So obviously most of the art now. I think I got a quote from is I think it was like 20 Battle for Zendikar. It was like I asked her. It was like 20 more than about 20% was original or less, even less for this
Oh,
particular.
yeah.
It was pretty low.
but on that note,
If you could, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do digital stuff for some companies,
Yeah.
you know, for Lucas Entertainment or whatever. But what you're missing out on, especially in magic, is a piece that you can sell and get a whole lot more money than the actual commission price was for it. And that's huge. So, you know, if you're doing 5 pieces and they're paying you $1,200 or whatever, but you turn around and sell these originals for $4,000,
Yeah.
you know, that's a pretty good deal. So, I'm not saying that's the only reason you should do originals, you know, but
I would think for the contact of paint, yeah, for the smell.
yeah,
like
something
it's-
about that. You know?
Yeah, or if not, like even if you're like, oh, I'm always gonna like digital, be digital, but like, you know, practice it in everything you could possibly practice it. You know, if you don't sculpt, try sculpting.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll help you understand space. It doesn't matter if it ends up being on paint or if it
Or
ends
even
up
needs a
being-
studio. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if it's stuck in a box, who
Oh, yeah.
really cares? Because the image afterward, like, you know, what's in, and this is the thing I always thought was cool about illustration. Fine art, only like one person gets to see a painting usually. If you're a museum goer, there's a certain class of citizens that go to the museum, so it really has a very limit of who gets to touch it and who gets to
Right.
see it. But illustration, everybody gets it. Everybody gets it because the painting right? Most paintings aren't really the end job.
Right.
The image on the computer aren't the end.
Right.
It's that printed card, right? Or that magazine cover, or the book cover. That's what the file is.
Yeah.
That's what the actual piece of art is, more so than anything.
And you're speaking to a wider audience.
Yeah. So many people get to see it. And
Worldwide.
you get to, touch.
Yeah,
Like,
it was crazy.
yeah, and then I think that's what's so wonderful about illustration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it gets to touch so many more people and get off my parents' refrigerator. You know?
All right, so obviously, I know Mark's least favorite card, but Mark, why don't you tell us your favorite card, obviously, and or just,
My
just,
favorite
just
card.
tell us, like your cards you've done. What were you thinking? What like fast spawn or what were you thinking? The wizard guy throwing.
Yeah, that was kind of in the Tolkien-esque realm
okay.
of wizard guys. You know what I mean? It was like, that's a wizard guy. Getting back to natural selection, I like that one. But it was put on a really, a card that no one played. So I remember getting it. And you're excited to see your stuff. You really are. And it's what people are playing. But natural selection was one of my favorite pieces of art for the set I did. And it just, no one ever got it signed. It never did anything. So it was kind of like, And then Birds of Paradise, which was a real quick one, is everyone's getting, to this day, everyone just gets that sign. It's a fan favorite, that kind of thing, So, but I like natural selection. But my favorite magic card, for some reason, was Keldorian Frost Beast from Ice Age. It's just this big ice monster busting up out of it. And it was really elusive for me. It was a very, elusive piece. So that was my favorite one from the early days, I guess. So that's great. Yeah.
Drew, how about you?
I hate that garbage pile. That would drive me insane.
Compost head?
Yeah, compost head. Compost head.
That's nice.
I
This
wish
is like a
it was
bit of a
head, that would have
band.
been totally
Compost
different, right?
Yeah. Well, sadly, obviously, I think you guys. There was a piece called Dan Dan, probably Drew's. One of the more iconic pieces, but it was stolen, and the story behind it basically was this: I acquired it from a longtime collector who got it from the Wizards Gallery, and the gentleman, and then I sold it to another collector, and that collector had his backpack stolen in his car, and when he visited me. So, and it's a sad story because I got a call from an unavailable number that night because my invoice was in there. He called me and just making fun of me, saying, I got your art, whatever. Never gonna see it. You'll never see it. It's gonna be gone.
Shut the door. You totally got a phone call from off?
No, I'm not kidding. It was ridiculous. I called the police and they're like, we don't have the can't get the information without all this stuff. So it's like, it's pretty sad. There was some other iconic pieces the client, I'm not going to mention, but it would have been even worse if those were stolen too. But Dan Dan was, just having it in my home and such. It's one of those pieces like Drew was saying. It had a life of its own. It came at you. It was unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Art in general. And I think, that was just one of the pieces I liked.
I like that one.
Drew, was that what you were?
I thought I was really smart, right? Like 1 second, I was like, oh, brilliant. The
1 second.
Yeah.
But it was great, really.
That one I really liked. And always I was baffled at for people would come back to me. I'm like, why are you just painting boats? And, what are you doing? And then eventually it took me 3 years and there's a fish. Yeah. And I thought that was really funny that the subtlety was almost too subtle. But I still think that one evoked a lot of things to it. It was a lot clearer. It's still tied in, to that mystery and stuff that I was trying to pull, and I really liked that one. Yeah. There's a couple other ones in it, but that one I thought, as far as visually, you're visually smart about something. It was pretty good.
I can see it clear as a bell. It was one of my favorite cards.
Glad. Because
I'm serious.
Yeah, I was always bad.
I was
what do you mean?
I
I can't see the fish. And I love that, like, you never told me that, like, the whoever yoinked called you. When I tell that story, I stopped it, it got stolen. As opposed to it got stolen out of the guy's backpack in the car, because there's very, like, I thoroughly believe the only thing that counts, there's other things that count. If you have family, family absolutely counts.
Right.
I love my family, I'll
Right.
do everything for them.
Yep.
And I've done it, you know, anything I can.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right.
But it's the story, because all of this doesn't count. It's the story that counts. I
It
mean,
is
like,
a story, because that's what we are.
Yeah.
Going back as far as we've been around, we're storytellers.
Yeah.
We sit around the campfire, share
Yeah.
our hunting stories or whatever.
And once we're gone,
Yeah.
who knows about like who I am? Who knows about who you are? But it's the story that you told that kind of lingers in the past. The myths that we live to, like you know, because yeah, we have like solid stories we pretend about, like Washington or Lincoln.
Right.
And it's all a bunch of bunk if you really start doing the history. There's a core of it, but it's the story in the myth that like is propelled through this, and that, you know, that has the real life to it, and that's what like keeps going.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you think about like a super long term where you're not in it, because like being alive, you know, there some other things are important, but you know, like,
Right.
family, like,
Right.
you know, whatever you want to like put it to, but yeah, I think so much is the story.
And get back to the early story of magic,
Yeah.
there's a lot of crazy stories that,
Oh, God.
that happened in the early days. Just, you know, missing art.
Yeah.
Like I did, you know, the islands. I originally was assigned the islands, and I did an island. I did a island sanctuary, and the Birds of Paradise speech were originally islands. So if you look at the backgrounds, they were just islands, and then they said, no, we just want the plain islands. So they put Birds of Paradise at that time, just an island,
Yeah.
and Island Sanctuary to the side, and I painted 2 more islands.
Oh wow.
Richard Garfield turned those cards into actual cards, but the other 2 islands I sent in, they lost one of them. So if you look at one of the islands, they just took the
Flip.
existing island, they flipped it, changed the color a little bit. And I got the stuff, and many years later, they sent me a box with a bunch of random stuff and sketches, and the 3rd island was in there. And I was just like, but it looks like Tropical Island. It looks doggone, and I'm thinking what happened was, it looked, because yes, we did Tropical Island, it looks same kind of design and everything. I think they got his confused, because I was accredited to Tropical Island. So I think they lost mine and attributed my name to his, so all those weird little stories. But yeah, I've had some stuff stolen,
Yeah.
and many years later get a call out of the blue. Said, hey, I've got some art. I want you to recreate it for me, just like it is, and I'll release it to you. And I was like,
Wow,
no,
that's like total hostage.
I was like, it's not gonna, I could care less. That's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
you know, jeopardize that original or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been some strange things.
I mean, because I figured Dan either will or won't like come back at another point.
Yeah,
You know, Plateau was lost, it came back.
Yeah.
There's
There's still a lot of
things
missing.
that lives.
There's still a lot of missing art out there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a site now with a tracking all the original art, who has it, whatever. And there's still some key, like I don't know where Ancestral Recall is. There's some big key pieces out there that are still, you know,
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know.
Yeah,
I wish I knew. I wish I had it.
They may come back.
Yeah. But yeah, that old, getting back to the style, I appreciate a lot of the other art, like Amy Weber.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean this stuff she was putting out. But it's changed now, because back in those days we worked in a smaller format, and it was like
Yeah.
6 by 8 almost, so very, you know, very small. Today, I mean, you can paint
As
Yeah.
big as you want.
big as you want,
Yeah.
and the bigger the better. That way they can use it for other advertising purposes, posters, mats, and stuff. So
But the demand is different too. I mean,
Yeah.
everything kind of altered.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, yeah, and sort of is too. It would have been nice to be able to be like, but how do you do that? How do you
because
get
back then,
that in the box?
back then it said all we got is an 8.5 by 11 scanner.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was the technology. Okay, so you got to keep it small.
What, what was available to do it.
So you're like, oh, okay. That's
Then
why
you
we
had to like, you know, you had to like FedEx the original lens.
Yeah.
There's no like, There's no shooting it and like
And
sending
uploading
it
it.
to those and ones.
Yeah. No, you had to mail everything.
Yeah.
And understand that with the deadline, so you had to keep it.
Yeah.
You couldn't wait till the last minute just to, oh, I'll get it opt in. Like
Yeah.
now I can wait the last minute, scan it in and send it.
Yeah.
Back then you had to give it, especially from South Carolina to Seattle.
Oh gosh,
You know, so I had to have a little extra time, so.
Yeah, I was in Seattle.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I left though, yeah, there's oh no.
yeah.
You still had to, you gotta get it in there, and so like, yeah, you had to like, you know, part of that deadline, you clock off a week
Yeah.
or something for the delivery.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems weird that we didn't have internet, just that short time ago. It's how that's changed the whole, illustration working field, you know, I mean, you can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, with as long as you got power.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago, and I just remember how that started changing. Or forget whacking tablets and stuff.
Oh,
I remember when
gosh,
the
yeah.
first one came out.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, wow, what do I do with that? I've been drawing with a mouse and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of odd. I got a friend who still draws with the mouse. He's just so comfortable with it and proficient with it.
Wow.
He's like, I don't want to take the time to buy a Cintiq or whatever. He's fine with the mouse.
Really?
Yeah, it's just he's
Yeah,
happy,
that's
man.
like
No.
oh.
But he's starting to have carpal tunnel because you know you're gripping it like this
That'll
instead
work,
of it's kind of doing this
Yeah.
all the time and doing that. But technology has changed. In 20 plus years, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
From,
Yeah, it's changed.
and I really believe that Wizards of the Coast of Time set a lot of changes for the industry. Again, getting back to the industry at the time, when you would go say Gen Con, you had TSR, which was role playing. You had some board games, and that was about it. And people were the doomsayers saying, you know, it's a dead industry. Like books are dead. You know, don't try for books. We're saying a couple of big key speakers saying, go to Hollywood, become storyboard artists, whatever. But gaming's dead. You know, whatever. Then Magic hits. And it really revolutionized the entire gaming industry. Now, this is before Xbox, but I think it had impact on that. So you look back at the impact that game had, I mean, transcends a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
But we watch Gen Con, all of a sudden now, just, you know, the glut of card games. I mean, but it opened up the door for a lot of people to do a lot of work. You know, there's illustration jobs just being thrown out.
Yeah.
You know, you can just pick them up off the street.
It was
There you go. You know, so I mean, at that one, there's a couple of years I did over 2,000 different cards for various games like BattleTech, you know, Netrunner, Vampires. I mean, I just stacks of card games, you know, because that's what you did.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. We're gonna open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any questions, I know you. If you have any questions for Mark Poole or Drew Tucker, Mark Poole and Drew Tucker, if you guys don't know, are original Magic artists for 2 of the 25 original artists. Don't be shy. Ask any questions, James.
In your opinion, we were talking about this the other day. Artists who have worked for other games are artists who have worked for other games. They're, you know, you don't trade on the name. I worked for Warhammer 40K. I worked for D&D. I worked for World of Warcraft. All these like really big IPs. It's like I worked for games, and then there's I did a Magic card. And there is a definite rift there between those two statements. In your opinions, why is that?
I guess it's because it's the flagship. You know, it's like, you know, I want to sign up and be a soldier in the Croatian army, or do I want to be a Marine? I mean, they're both good. But one just has more awareness and more presence in the world, so to speak. But you're right, it is that. And a lot of younger artists, their sole target now is like, I just want to illustrate Magic cards. And that's good, but you know, there's a lot of good opportunities in some of these other brands, these other products, not paying those debts. But it does seem you're right. It's like, but once you said it's kind of like that little gold pin you can pin to your breast, you know, like work for Magic is kind of strange, but yeah. Because some of the other IPs, I like 40K and stuff, and I've done stuff with those guys. I enjoy that IP a lot. I played, you know, I was always a 40K gamer. So to me, that's huge, you know, but, you know.
I think the flagship comments like perfect about that. Because because if you're building a resume or something too, I mean that's you're gonna throw that like that top tier that you're on.
Yeah.
You know, like that should probably be either first or last. You should like,
Right.
you know,
Right,
or
exactly.
you know, if possible, both.
Right.
So you like, you
Change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Hasbro
Yeah.
and Magic together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't that handy.
Yeah, it seems like if you can do magic, you can almost do anything at a certain point, right?
Yeah. But,
Because
right, but
magic
plus-
is sort of, they do get the best people in the industry.
They do. And the nice thing about it is it gets such recognition.
Yeah.
So many people are aware and play, even other companies. I mean, I got a job like Sony Online because a lot of those guys play Magic. So, boom, hey, we know you from Magic. Would you like to do some conceptual stuff? I mean, I've gotten a lot of crazy gigs just from being a Magic artist, you know. The same thing with Lucas Entertainment. I've talked to George Lucas. And it's just had some of these bizarre things just because of I've done work for Magic. You know, not because I did work for Vampire John, you know.
Much out of that one.
That's great.
Great question, James.
I have a question. Do you guys ever prepare works, like prepare portfolio, just targeting a certain client?
Yes, and not as much as anymore because now I'm doing my own thing. But I used to do target, so I would do a sci-fi portfolio. If I was wanting to go after, say, doing some Star Wars or whatever, I would tailor my thing. I would pull out the fantasy elements, like it's kind of, though they could fit, but I kid you not, it's down to that apples and oranges things. I had by an art director. I showed up one time with a portfolio full of his whatever consistent images, and it came in that classic argument. Here, I'm showing you my portfolio of apples. And I've got apples on trees, I got apples on the ground, I got apples everywhere, and I can paint great apples. But the art director's like, you know, we're looking for pears. I don't see any green pears in here. I don't know if you can handle green pears, but I can paint apples. So next time I show up, I'm showing up with pears. So some art directors are a little different than say they're not artists. They've got to see
Yeah.
if you can handle what their wheelhouse is and be comfortable with you. So if you're looking for a sci-fi job, show up with some good tech stuff,
So
you know.
did like spend time working on works that just for the portfolio, not for anything else, just for.
I've done that. Because you don't have to have 15 pieces for a key portfolio. I've even seen if you show up with 6 just slamming pieces, that is a whole lot better than showing up with, all right, let's just stick a bunch of things in here. 6 strong pieces is 6 strong pieces, you know. And you show up and target it. And yeah, that's an investment of time, but if you really want to work and approach that, it also shows them, hey, you know, you took the time to do these things just for a portfolio.
And to know that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's smart in this day and age because the competition's out there. There's a lot of jobs to be done, so you've got to focus and pinpoint where your portfolio is going to. So yes, I would say yes. I think you should.
Thank you. So it's like a follow-up question. So since when you started doing like much more personal stuff, like not for anybody?
I hit a point where I had worked for about everybody and really in the game industry. I still do some because I'm a gamer, so I like to have my foot in the door. But I've always go back to my personal visions of things, what I like. And if you've seen my stuff now, it's a lot of solitary figures on a precipice of a moment, either an action fixing to happen, or a change in life, or a change in direction. That's what just speaks to me. If I didn't have to make a living making money, this is what I'm painting. You know what I mean? I'll just paint this for myself because this is just where I like to be and express through an emotion, so to speak. So, yeah, I made that change because after doing so many illustrations, and some of them were great jobs, I get personal fulfillment out of doing the things that make me happy, you know. And that's actually what got me the gigs early on because I was doing some of these wildlife pieces. And that's what got me a lot of work. And that's what got me work at Wizards. So, yeah. So I've gone back to where I actually started. I started there, then took a 20-year, almost 18-year break down here in the gaming industry. And now I'm just painting stuff more of a gallery mindset and everything. So
have you ever been asked a question about what do you want to do? And
yeah, you get that all the time.
yeah.
You know, and it's always so tough because there's not enough time. to do what I really want to do. Because I love reading, I love sculpting, I love playing computer games. I play Guild Wars 2. Right now the new expansion's out and I'm here. And my son's playing and I want to play the new Necromancer class, but that's not happening. So I want to do so many things.
Yes.
And it never ends. I'm never bored. I love traveling. I mean, I really do. So, but what I really want to do is paint just good paintings. You know, at the end of the day, if I take all that other stuff, if I only had to do one thing, well, I'm married and have kids, and that was wonderful. But just for me, is painting what I want to paint now. That's what I want to do. And if I could do that, which I am now, I'm very fulfilled and happy. So when I go to a show like this, I don't even care if I sell a piece. It's just fun to put stuff up out here and start sharing a conversation about where I'm at and what I'm doing. That's a big fulfillment.
No, I'm opposite because I started out doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah, right.
So,
We're very opposite a lot.
Yeah, like I don't have the same sort of thing, but like in the end, in the end of the day, all I do is paint. You know, part of the reason that I like teaching, honestly. That was probably the best thing I could have ever done, well, like for my hand, right? You know, because you totally have to understand what you're doing at that point, or you know, start asking yourself the question of why you're doing it. Because if you're going to try to relay information and not like rob like a person, or you know, just talk theory, you know, you got to do it with them. But I mean, I paint and draw all day, and that's all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
you're living the dream.
yeah, I'm living my retired life.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Nice.
which is
It is mind-boggling.
yeah,
It's
but it's a
strange-
weird,
it's
that's a
very
weird
strange
like
concept.
goal. You know, that's a hard one to. Yeah, it's. I was lucky. I mean, when I started, I didn't have people. You know, I was married, but I didn't have kids or anything, so I got to do like I didn't really have to care. Nobody had to eat food, right?
Which was different for me. I had,
Yeah.
you know, baby in the oven.
Yeah.
And my wife at the time was the big breadwinner. She had, you know, good degree. She was working in psychiatric care with the elderly. So she had the insurance, she had that. But when we had our first baby, she retired. But it actually took on more work because the kids were a whole lot more than working with insane people. So then I was like, here I am, breadwinner, and I'm just going, okay, here we go. So now I'm the provider, which made me force a lot of decisions again and take a lot of work. It was hard to say no to anything. I don't care what it was. So I just worked. You know, I was getting maybe 4 hours of sleep for many years, just constantly working to be sure that the family was provided for. And then of course now when magic stuff started hitting well, I mean it really eased a lot. And getting back to working for a flagship company, that just opened the door to, you know, just jobs all the time. So
Do you think this work kind of packed period is necessary to be established artist?
These days, I think your portfolio speaks loud. I've seen some people who've only been working maybe a couple years show up with this killer portfolio. And the harder thing is as long as they can show they have time management and build a confidence from the director, I don't care what your background, I don't care what school you went to. When you're looking at portfolio, I've never been asked what school I've
No, I mean,
been
that's
to.
the funny joke about
You know?
like, they don't like in school, they don't really tell you that. Right? Like,
No,
it's like, oh, you gotta be in the best school. It doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't. Your
Manage
soul is right there in
yeah,
your
is
portfolio.
what this can do. It's in what you see. The school,
Yeah.
you know, all school is good for is it's practice.
Skills and focusing
Yeah.
and
It's
practice.
skills,
I
focus, and
felt a
practice.
little lost because I was like taught to be very like I had to be skillful and
Yes.
take on as many styles and whatever words I can get as possible. And I was asked questions about like, so what do you want to do? Where is your real passion resides? And it's like,
That's tough. Especially, you know, I remember my early days, and it was, I didn't know. I don't want to be a medical, I went down the path of being a medical illustrator as well. Now I realize now I gotta get a doctorate. I was like, that's just too much work, you know? Then I want to be a wildlife. It was very tough, and it still is tough. I mean, really find out what you want to do, or do you need to pay the bills? There's always there's that balance, you know? So that's the tough
Well,
part.
what's been your worst job? That not illustration, because like sometimes you had to pay the bill. And the point to it is sometimes we take horrible jobs, right? Sometimes you do whatever you got to do so you can like, you know, do another image, you know, like supplement to be able to, especially in the beginning.
In the beginning, actually, I was working at, like I said, a t-shirt factory job, which I weaned down and became part-time. And over the years, I've done a lot of graphic design. I used to do a lot of interactive CD-ROMs and stuff. So I would take these commercial-style jobs just to make sure that the money was flowing. So, but because you had to, yeah, that kind of thing. But I enjoyed it. But it's just you know the way it was.
Yeah, you're just gonna do that.
Right. And then by the time we had a couple kids, and my wife's not. Now she's like, I don't want to go back to work.
Do you
So.
feel it's a bad thing to have to go through that phase?
No, it's made me who I am. It might have been a longer route. In hindsight, now especially in this day and age, y'all have a great advantage of, again, the internet and contacts. Everything's so open now. I mean, back in those days, there's a handful of people doing stuff. You would go to a show, but now the information's out there for you, which is a lot of times the harder part. Now, the harder part is finding your focus, especially in the sea. There's just so many opportunities. I really believe there really is, and whether it's computer design, and that's a tough road. I mean, that puts you in, you're in and out.
Yeah.
But I really believe there's a lot of work out there, and it gets back down to the portfolio statement is focusing it to what you want to do. Being a shotgun approach is good too, and being ready to have if that door opens over here, wildlife Western art, and you've got some of that. That's good, you know. But still finding that focus. What really do you want to focus on, and work that portfolio around that, you know.
I would, you know, to add, I think like having the skill level allows you to choose the voice or style that you work in, and like, so I mean, and this is just like how I really look at it. When I make paintings or when I make illustrations, I'm trying to please that image. I'm not trying to necessarily put myself to it. I'm not trying to like you know go. I mean, yes, you know, I might be the guide to it, but I'm like, if it requires at this point, if it requires a hard edge or a very graphic sensibility to it, you need to be able to do that. As opposed to like, if you know, I have a style. In the beginning, style shows you what you can't do, and you know, as you go, and if you have the, you know, when you have the skill, style is a choice, you know, or a choice of voice, let's say. So I mean, having that skill is awesome, but yeah, it's the trick is like, what do you want to focus on? And when we're young, it's tricky. I don't like, cause like, I didn't know what I was, and like.
Well, even now it's tricky.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
I mean, I still want to draw graphic novels.
Yeah.
I really do. But I'm like, where am I going to get the time? I mean, I'm passionate about graphic novels. I really am. You know, I always wanted to do one. I've had opportunities, but I don't have. It's hard to have the time. So while you're young and stuff, jump out there and try a lot.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
That's what I'm.
Can you speak to the mentality of artists that collect magic artwork? Is it the card that the art is on, or the art that they're interested in?
It's both, and it used to be the more powerful the card equated, the more money you could get for the piece. But nowadays, you're seeing this crazy world. I'm talking cards that no one uses, commanding just prices because they're now a magic card. You're starting to see a fishing frenzy of just, if it's a magic card now, there's a lot of people wanting it.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. It's very bizarre. So, but then again, if you get lucky and you do like Chris Ron, you get a nice image on a nice card and it's a nice big painting, you're talking, you know, there's a year's salary right there in selling that original, you know. So it's just really interesting right now. I'm seeing cards that are 10 years ago you couldn't get rid of for $500, turning into, you know, 4 digits, 5 digits, you know. So it's kind of weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that's bizarre.
Yeah. So
Because
yeah.
it did start though.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, a lot does still happen because of the games, but now I think now it's on a magic card, and there are people scrambling to get them. You know.
I mean, some of that's got to like, especially for you know the older stuff, it's a nostalgia
Yeah.
situation.
Right now, the people who were playing when they're younger now have, you know, jobs at Microsoft or whatever, and they got the
Yeah.
bank to buy their child. For me, was buying I bought I got a Kirby Silver Surfer pencil. Because when I was growing up, it's comics were it for me, and Silver Surfer and Jack Kirby was big for me. So when I was able to get something, I got a Kirby Surfer, you know, and that's just my pride and joy, you know. So people like to buy their happy childhood, you know, something that really had an impact on the world. That's just what we like to do. So I think Magic's got up there. So a lot of the guys, kids playing now, actually have jobs, or you know, can afford to
They're
buy
in their
something.
30s. The people,
right.
and you're seeing this a lot with a lot of 90s and very early 80s properties. I guess Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Right.
Nickelodeon's having a 90s channel now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of all the old Alpha artwork is selling for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars because these guys want to buy their childhood back.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
artists
right.
have this problem because we almost like reside in our childhood
Yeah, we do.
for forever. I mean, like, and so like outside of this, though, like you know, like I guess like the more normal people, or if they're even normal, you know, yeah, they have to go back, right? Like we're already,
Oh, yeah.
we're still kind of.
I'm still playing games and reading
Yeah.
comics. You know,
Yeah.
I've never changed. That's just me. You know.
But yeah, and so like that nostalgia comes, yeah, and they, you know,
Nostalgia, I think, is the big driving factor, especially for the first couple sets. I think nostalgia is the big driving factor for a lot of
No,
those
yeah,
pieces.
definitely, definitely, because it was new and fresh.
Yeah.
And especially even for me, I remember when I got my first packs and got all my buddies to go, hey, let's play this new game. I remember just opening these things up, and I can still remember the first cards from 20 plus years ago, like Chaos Orb. To me, it just ingrained in my brain. It was always one of my favorite cards. But you remember this bam, and there you stuck to these images.
I remember getting, you know, they showed us those boxes.
Yes.
I'd sit down there.
Oh, to open up all these
and
boxes.
I'd pop them all over, like, oh, what's that one? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they was.
And yeah, you just like pile through them because yeah, they're just cards at that point. Too.
But those images are still fresh now as
Yeah.
they've ever been. You know,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, the art still is. That's pretty crazy with the art. That's why I get back to if you have an original, that's a plus. If that's in, you know, your ability to do, just from a sales point.
So it's even more astounding that only 20%, if that, are doing it traditionally, right?
Yeah.
The market is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
rabid right now.
Yeah, which is fine. That actually increases the, you know,
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
So there's less originals to be bought. That just drives the price up even more. So I think it's a good thing. I even tell my good digital friends, hey man, make an original. They're like, you know, so.
I don't know. I'm I guess maybe a little too young to be able to be nostalgic about this stuff because I was in diapers, I guess, when Alpha came out. But like, if I'm I guess it's weird to me because if I'm buying art, if I'm gonna drop 10 grand on a piece of like fantasy illustration, you can get like a Frazetta black and white sketch for like 10 grand around that sphere, or Jeff Jones oil painting, a really nice Jeff Jones oil painting for like around $10,000 or like that. And so like it's sort of a little bit weird to me to get these little tiny things that were from Magic versus getting a Frazetta.
Oh yeah, it's that is very. But you bring up a good point. When I've sold some Magic cards for silly money,
Yeah.
and you're going, man, I could have bought a Boris. You know,
Yeah, I can buy
Isaac.
Boris has got some of this some oil paintings up right now, and it's just like.
But then again, we're buying into pop culture.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't have gone back and bought Jimi Hendrix if he'd have done something really cool one-off?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't have gone back and bought this stuff? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's out there, you
Yeah.
know, and it's an interesting phenomenon with America, especially in pop culture, and how
Yeah.
we attribute so much into it. You know, kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pop culture.
Yeah, it is pop culture
I
now.
had a question that someone emailed me. I just checked about the business side. Talk about the business of art. The question was, how do you survive? I mean, on it is true. I mean, how do you manage your personal expenses and your art expenses? Tell us details on how do you build a career in art because you obviously have been successful at balancing different things. So, why don't you talk about that?
Oh man, my entire like house is a studio. Alright? Yeah, my entire house is a studio, so I don't know if there's a balance, and I feel for my people, because like yeah, the balance is me, and that's rough. But yeah, I mean, you take everything.
Yes, you do. Yep.
If you have people later, I mean, like the reason I started teaching is I bred and I'm like children like to eat food. They don't drink
And
a
wear
lot of
new
wine,
clothes,
and
yes.
they wear
They don't drink
clothes.
beer.
No beer for kids. It's a little scotch, baby. But yeah, like you gotta, and that's how, I mean, that's why I started teaching, because, yeah, I wanted
It fits
a
like
really
a glove.
solid,
Yeah.
you know, and honestly, like all of my instructors were working artists.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, maybe not earlier on, but like when I was in Cornish, they were, when I was in New York, they were all working artists. So it wasn't that like, yeah, they were passing information, current information that they had, you know, and so, I mean, yeah, sometimes you have to do something supplemental, sometimes you have to like be a grave digger. I almost had a grave digger.
Really?
I was really excited. I got a better one. But you know, but to balance it, right? Like I'm not, for me, I don't know if there's a balance, because like, yeah, everywhere I am, that's what I've got. Like there's like 3 easels in the house somewhere. There's, you know, I've got it out and done a garage so it can be a studio. The living room's a studio.
Right.
So
You
maybe
know,
Me was more. I was more of a
Yeah.
mercenary.
Yeah, the question is, how do you
Yeah.
begin? How do you start that business? Because that's what's the question.
I was a mercenary. I've always approached it with a dispassionate mercenary attitude. Even getting back to Wizards, you know, when Wizards changed the contract, got rid of royalties, a lot of guys said, you know, screw that, I'm out. I'm like, look, I'm a mercenary. It's still the best paying gig in town. The residuals are great. I'm gonna stick with it. A lot of artists gave me a lot of slack for it, but I'm like, I still got to put food in the table, and it's still the best paying gig. I've always gone at things. You got to be a salesman. You got to be at least understand law to read your contracts, what you're giving away, what you're not giving away, and you got to manage all these things from my world, and just get the job done, and be able to consistently get out there and scan what's going on to keep money coming consistently. And if it runs up in the illustration side, bang, I pull out my scales and go, all right, let's do some CD covers, let's do something this. Whatever to bring, you know, for me it was always
I took in a lot of work just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because you gotta work, and the more you're doing, the more experience you have for it. Then it comes to like, you know, how you prep your portfolio. And in the beginning, you had to make these crazy call lists to find out, like, you go into the bookstores and it's like, oh, I like this cover. And you do a lot of research to get it, and then you had to figure out, like, you had to like sneak call secretaries and find art directors.
or finding, you go to a show and find them in the bars where they hung out. And that's how you met. And
that
in
is
the old days, you meet them in the bars too. You know? Now you got portfolio reviews and stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
Back then you actually had to plan it out.
You had to
and be
hunt.
sneaky and
Yeah.
all right, I know they eat or they hang out at this bar. Let's go over there and somehow mingle myself in.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it was different people's skill sets.
Yeah.
And now it's still, especially in portfolio reviews, you want to come across as confident but not arrogant, not too shy, not unsure of your skills, because that projects in an interview.
Yeah.
If you come in there and like, oh, here's my stuff, instantly it's like, okay, this is not a confident person in their stuff. So always show your portfolio. Never make excuses for it. Oh, this is not my best piece.
Yeah.
Don't put it in. But always come in with confidence, but not cockiness is a big key too.
Yeah. I'm probably over humble about things. Yeah, I'm over humble about things, or something probably. But yeah, you're coming in with the confidence is a necessity. And yeah, absolutely not being cocky about it, because you're just, I mean, they're paying you, right? Like, so they can find another person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you come off too wishy-washy, and I know I've lost jobs like in like, you know, maybe like early millennium when I wasn't like feeling so hot about things, you know, and I got the work, but I know I also lost, you know, I didn't continue working with them because I was like, you know, I needed too much. Oh, that was nice,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And you don't need that.
Yeah.
You just have to, what you do, and you have to be confident about this.
And on the other side, if you're a pleasant person to work with, they would rather work with the pleasant person than the pain in the butt person.
Yeah.
No matter what the skill is. There are some pain in the butts you still work with just because of the attention they command.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you, I hate working with this person, and we try not to. So if you can come in there at least with a personality that is you and it's pleasant, you know, just be yourself, that can go a long way too. And continue bringing stuff back in. Like, hey, we like working with him. Here, we got something for you.
So I mean, they talk, the art directors talk too.
Yeah.
And if they like you as a person, they'll pass you.
And when they're talking to other art director friends, like, yeah, we like working with him because he's fun to work with. He doesn't whine. He's not a complainer. So because that happens a lot. There's a lot of problem people to work with out there. And I know a lot of them. And it's not their fault. It's just their makeup and how they handle problems or issues. But be pleasant, but be confident.
All right, so it's about almost 11:30, and we're gonna. Does anybody have like a burning desire question?
Yeah, when you were starting out in your career, did you ever feel like you just hit a wall with everything? The art, getting jobs, sleeping, eating, being a person.
It still happens
How
sometimes.
do you work through that? Like, what are some of the things that you tell yourself to just work through that and
I go outdoors. I mean, we live on a lot of property, a lot of wood, so I just go outside, and just walk, just sit, daydream. Because my wife knows that I get in a funk, and I either get depressed or I get just frustrated. I used to go to movies or something, but now I get out in nature, and I just walk. It just starts calming down. Especially if you've got deadlines approaching, it makes it worse because then you get more in a funk. Because now I'm just wasting the day walking around looking at trees and leaves, and then I go back even more depressed. So sometimes that doesn't work. But as a whole, it does reset me for So sometimes it's finding that thing that allows you to get away from things. And my wife knows. I like to say, honey, I'm full. I need to disappear. I'll do that. I'll just kind of get away from everything. Just recollect. Think about, why am I doing this? Is this not fun anymore for me? Why am I having a block? What is the block? What's potentially up to block? What usually is up the blocks to me is procrastination. My normal routine is I get up, I get my sketchbook, I do my little thumbnails, I get my coffee, do a little small drawing. Then I begin my day. I don't even look at the internet or nothing. Then I start my work. If I don't do some of these things, procrastination leads to depression, leads to frustration. So for me, I've got to keep it balanced and get on things early, in order to make sure my whole focus is properly set. So I don't know, it's gonna be different for different people. You know what I mean? You might be a book reader, so sometimes it's good to get out, get a book, read a book, so.
I personally do the same thing.
Do you?
I just go for walks. I'll
Yeah.
walk in alleys.
Just walk.
Wherever, just to see and let that come in.
Yeah.
Because I find often, if I'm not like, and especially like if there's a problem that I can't solve, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, I remove myself from it because it's still in the back of your head. It's still there. And usually, like when I'm preoccupied by what leaves or whatever, that's when it comes back. But I know, like we all get blocks. I mean, that's why you're asking, right? Like everybody.
And it's gonna stay. It's gonna stay that way. It's not gonna go away.
It's part of the process, which is really scary to say.
It's just a part of it. But it's learning how you can deal with it to overcome it. And once you figure those things out, it helps overcome that process. Because it's still the same old thing. Sometimes you start painting and you're working on it and going, this ain't going anywhere. It's not where I want it to be. And I'll fight it, and then I realize I don't need to fight it, so I'll just put it aside. Start on something different. If you have that, whatever, I'll have to do that.
I mean, I try to have like at least like 2-3 paintings going.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So I can divorce myself from it, and I can see what. If I remove myself from the one I'm having problems with, and I come back, I can see it in a different, with a different eye. And that sometimes helps me out because you get these moments where you're stuck with the idea of the space or something's going on.
Go back to something successful that's going on. Then your mind goes back into the process.
That's why walks are nice.
Walking's so great.
for a while.
Just walk.
Very good question. All right, guys. I want to make sure there's enough time for people if they got the card signed, want to take some pictures. I also have some original Magic Gathering works from various artists. I'll just put them out. You can take a look at them if you want to take a look. and also just feel free to chat. I don't want to be cramped with time and right to the end. So thanks again for coming out.
Yeah.
And Drew's tonight. He's gonna be at the showcase show from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. If you guys just walk in, there's those 4 tables when you first walk in, not inside, but he'll be there. And Mark's at this the main show, and be sure to check out his personal works and such. And we really appreciate you guys coming out. So if there's any, you guys have any cards to sign, any other personal questions and such, feel free to talk. If you have any questions for me, I'm Daniel Chang with VintageMagic.com. I represent Mark, and I also work with Drew, and I work with other magic artists. If you have questions on magic art or questions, at all, I'm here to answer any questions you have. Thanks again, everybody.